What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode.
Hello, guys.
We're just going to do a quick little check-in. I feel like we start all these episodes with like a laugh. They're just like an inside joke. Anyway,
We should film the pre-chat as well.
that could be dangerous.
Anyway,
Have to edit out some shit for sure. How are you going?
it's been a good week. It's been a busy week. Well, busy couple of weeks for us. So, yeah, kind of looking forward to having some downtime. Date night tonight.
Yeah, we're hitting the sauna and then,
Hitting the sauna and some dinner.
yeah,
A little bit of pickleball tomorrow, maybe. TBA.
that won't be downtime there. That'll be intense competition.
The competition comes out.
Slack crash outs.
Yeah. Yeah, just feeling, I think, a little bit like mentally drained just from the last 2 weeks. And yeah, good.
Cool.
Good though. How are you?
Feeling stretched, feeling feeling like grounded in that, but definitely in a season where it feels, yeah, like the unraveling of a lot of the shit that I've tried to control in my own life. In a good way though. So just being a lot more proactive, running my first event as well, which was epic. So that's just like on a nervous system level, like growing and expanding.
Yeah.
It feels like it's a lot, and I'm in the trenches with it all, which is awesome. And because of that, I've also continued to train a lot, do all the things. So yeah, just feeling pretty like exhausted at the moment, but feels all right. Tomorrow is going to be like the day where there's no real work, which will be an edge because the longer I stay in the hole of pushing and pushing and pushing, the harder it is to actually stop.
Yeah. 100%.
So yeah, it's kind of like getting to that point where I either own it, feel what's underneath the pressure around stopping, or my body's just going to shut down and I'll experience burnout. So we're getting better at navigating that cycle.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the like the stimulus and everything that's been moving, it's been like the season for it. A lot of the time, I think, when we look at learning how to create stillness or slow down, there's almost like an overemphasis on that. It's like, no, you can't be busy, or you can't be all in, or you can't feel stretched, and you can't feel like the pressure of everything. I've been under a lot of pressure. And also at the same time, the internal just rewiring of my nervous system around like being seen and stepping into a new stage of work and showing up in that way. It's been really cool, but very taxing at the same time. So it's like really trying to balance the exposure to all the newness that comes along with that, and also letting it land and not just full sending it without actually embodying it and feeling like the space for my nervous system to like recalibrate.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right, is building that capacity. And I think a lot of people are very used to being either burnt out or completely like no motivation, not doing the things. It's kind of just like one or the other. Whereas when we're learning to build capacity to be able to hold more, it's going to feel stretchy. It's going to feel uncomfortable. And it's also learning that balance act of, right, if I keep going, then that's when I'm going to hit burnout. But what I'm feeling right now, the discomfort, the stretchiness, that's not a bad thing. I think a lot of the time when we're not used to feeling that initially, we can put it to the side and put it in a bucket. Or I shouldn't be feeling that. That's uncomfortable. I need to like retreat or push harder. Like it's the stop or the go. It's very real for both of us to experience that as well, building that.
Yeah, I think there's a real privilege to be able to feel exhausted by doing what you really feel fucking called to do.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's been so many times where I just lay on the ground in my office and just fall asleep for like 15-minute naps. Sometimes 2 hours I've slept on the ground. It's been epic. Such a good sleep. It's so like underrated.
Pete's trying to get rid of our bed. He wants to get rid
Let's
of
just
our
get
mattress.
a
He's
nice-
like, we just need to sleep on the floor.
Yeah, we'll get like a really like cushiony rug, and that'll be epic. It's just like the Japanese beds where they're really close to the ground. It's a felt sense of being grounded, so you actually wake up restored.
No, I want to be in layers in like a cloud pillow
You can
sleeping.
be on the cloud that's just on the ground.
You need. I've spoken to other women about this, and they're the same. It's like you need the bed split in two, just like this big fluffy cloud, and then just firm low mattress to the ground.
Well, careful what you wish for.
I'll just be up here, you'll be down here. Great.
But no, it's like I was chatting with one of my mentors around this as well. It's like getting to those points where like, fuck, I'm so tired. I feel so stretched, so like just overdrawn. Great. Like what else would I be doing? It's like, cool. You chose this.
It's a privilege.
You walked into it. Let's fucking get after it. Like fall asleep on the ground if you need to. Go for a fucking 25K run. Get out all the stress, the anxiety, and put it into your training, and then come back. Like keep filling the fucking bucket. Like that's a real privilege, and I think it's very easy to fall into the victim mentality around like just being I'm so exhausted, so tired. Usually exhaustion and being tired in that way is a soul exhaustion. It's being soul tired. It's like I'm putting in so much effort for something that I don't actually want. That's a hard place to be in. So whilst I can embrace like the exhaustion around it, it's really just framing that like, fuck yeah. Like it's so cool to be able to feel the stretch and the pull around bringing my vision forward and stepping into who I need to be able to actually hold that vision. So yeah, really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool. So this is a like we were having a chat the other day around basically like what we're both doing in our service and how we help people.
Life.
Pretty much. And yeah, like in conversation for us, it really came down to like what's actually driving us to like help people and show up and coach and facilitate and to hold space. And, you know, for me, that was something that I really had to come to terms with my own experience. Like it's built off for both of us, like our own story.
Yeah.
And just because we've gone through our story, it doesn't mean we don't actually need to speak into it. It doesn't mean we don't actually have to share it. I think it's a really important part for this work is not just from like the humanity side of it to actually feel the connection to the people that we work with, but it's also the thing that has got us to the point where we need and feel called to help other people who are experiencing something similar to what we have as well. So it was definitely like for me telling my story at my event the other day in all of it, it was an edge because it's vulnerable and it's real. And with that like comes up emotion and just the feeling of just being seen in that is, yeah, really powerful, but also scary at the same time. And that's something that, you know, for yourself as well, I know that's something that's really present for you at the moment too, around wanting to share more of like what we've been through that's put us in the position where we're here to help, we're here to serve. And yeah, so I really want to like hear your story today, honey, and speak into a bit of it as well.
Yeah. I think just on from what you were saying there, I think when you work in this, you know, self-development, wellness space, there's so many different pillars of it, right? And whether you're in it, whether you're doing the work, whether you're new to it, you hear a lot of words, a lot of labels, and a lot of the time we're like, what the hell does that mean? And then you get in it and you realize just how many lanes you can go down and things you can learn and things you can teach, ways you can support people as well. And they all tend to complement each other. But in that, what I've noticed is, yeah, I guess going through seasons where, you know, I'm feeling called to lean in. Like they've always been connected. The purpose has always been to support women who were once in a place where I was, and a version of me that lived that way for my life until I started doing that work. But I think the more I've done within myself and then just getting support and coaching and then exploring new offers, exploring different ways to get your work out there, you kind of go down all these lanes. And I was noticing, I just kind of ended up at this place where I was like, I'm actually feeling, and at the moment I'm in that world, but I'm also in another world and juggling the both of those with marketing as well. So there's multiple hats which, are constantly on and off, which also adds to this, just feeling, I guess, a little disconnect from that. But what I was noticing is I haven't actually in a long time. I think when in the beginning I was a little bit disconnected from and anchoring into my why and back to my mission and the reason why I started doing the work myself, the reason why I started sharing my message. I started sharing that on social media, purposely just going through my own healing journey. And it was very therapeutic for me to actually be seen in what I was going through. I had not shared anything but highlight reels. And so actually sharing my thoughts or sharing what was real for me when I was going through divorce, that was such an edge. And even posting 3 times in 1 week was an edge. And so now it's you look at where you are now from where you started and it's massive. But yeah, really it's been very alive to anchor back into my why. And that has been, like you're saying, connecting back with your story on why you started, because we've both touched on in this podcast, we've gone through our own journeys. We've been married, we've been divorced, we've had all that side of things. But divorce and separation and moving states and doing all these things wasn't the reason why I was feeling the way that I was. The reason, because it went much deeper back into childhood when there was a lot of wounding, when there was a lot of pain and a lot of hurt. That's what's underneath it all, and that's the root of everything. And so, it's really been just anchoring back into that story again as well.
What did your childhood look like?
Yeah, where do we start? I don't actually remember a lot of younger childhood, and there's reasons for that. Most of the pain and hurt in childhood was early teens, probably from 10 onwards is where I actually have memory of growing up in childhood. Before that, I actually have very little memory. But yeah, growing up, mum and dad both worked really hard, had an older brother. There's a 7-year age difference between us. So that had its challenges growing up, but we're very close, but we weren't always very close. That led to also when I was reaching teenage years, he was moving out. So there was also distance there where he was, going off into that stage of his life, but I was still at home. And yeah, had some really great memories through childhood. And then it got to a stage where mum and dad were looking at separating. But also, I guess before that is there started to be more fractures at home. Part of that was mum's drinking started to get quite heavy, I guess, in that sense. Mum and dad were then arguing more. My brother moved out, so all of these kind of pillars were happening. Then it got to teenage years, and it was that classic high school, you're figuring out who you are, trying to make friends, trying to be liked, getting distracted with boys when you're young, all these things happening. And then I went through my first boyfriend, separating from him, which got really ugly. And then I was very bullied throughout high school as well, pretty much from that entire year level. Mum and dad were separating at the same time. So I'm at school during the day, getting severely bullied, not sure what to do with all of that because I just want to isolate and hide. And then mum and dad are separating, the family dynamic's been shifted and everything's a bit toxic and ugly and messy. My brother's moved out and then coming home and then, this dynamic with mum, I guess when they had separated, it was essentially just her and I at home, and she was my best friend. This is going to be hard to tell. She was my best friend. And she was also the person who caused me the most pain in my life. And that's really hard when it's the one woman in your life who is meant to teach you the foundation of what it is to be a woman and is meant to be that unconditional love source for you growing up. So, yeah, there was such a conflict because it's my mum. I love her. And also, as she was hurting, as she was going through separation and her world was blowing up, and, you know, I still don't really know exactly what she was feeling throughout all of that. Like, we haven't had that conversation. We've had some really good conversations, but there's limitations with, how our conversations go. There's also still distance there at times. So it's a very complex relationship. So she was finding an outlet, and that was her outlet. But in that was also, it was kind of like, I guess, a split personality is the best way to put it. And essentially it brought out the harder side of her and the side that was holding on to a lot of pain. And I received a lot of that pain. So, you know, that just looked like a lot of verbal abuse. I would do everything I can to, you know, try get her to, for us to just connect, for us to just hang out at nighttime, to cook dinner together, to watch a movie. I can see now all the things that I was doing, the ways that I was molding myself to try get attention and love and connection from her, and those bits of connection. And they were just a lot of the time met with broken promises, rejection, and those feelings of abandonment, because I would be watching her and like peering through the windows, whether she was going to come inside, and she would be just on the phone and just having, doing what she was doing outside, having conversations with people. And then it would get to like hours of the night and she would be playing music really loud, and then things would get really ugly and I would just go hide in my room. So the safest place for me was behind my bedroom door, but I didn't have a lock on that door either. So a lot of the time that looked like me sitting behind my door, holding the door shut while she was trying to get into my room. So yeah, and then it's kind of like you wake up the next day, get ready to go to school, and it's like nothing happened. And I think until actually processing that, you don't realize how heavy that is for a teenage kid to carry. And then also just I was wanting to look after her as well, because I could see what she was going through. So there's also the sense of becoming like emotionally responsible for her and her needs, because I was also her safe place. Yeah, it was a very complex relationship in that sense. That just continued on for years, essentially, until I got to the age where I could get my license. And then so as soon as I would see the signals, and I'm then being really hypervigilant on all the warning signs and the behavior shifts. So as soon as that would start happening, I would just leave, which was great because then I could remove myself from the environment. But the hardest part was when I couldn't do that. So, and we were like out on a farm. It was like very isolating in that sense. And then got to like 18 and stuff, and I just was angry. I was angry, resentful, and I went through periods where I really just hated her. Getting to that age, it's like it felt like she had caused like a lot of embarrassment in situations with friends and stuff, because they could also be on the receiving end of that sometimes. So I really spent a lot of time trying to keep people distant from her, but that wasn't always possible at the same time. And then, that just led to me suppressing that, holding all of that in, because I didn't know what to do with all of that at the time. And then I just became really angry, and there's certain ways that I handled situations. I obviously didn't have the emotional intelligence to know what to do, but, I also caused her a lot of pain in certain ways as well. And especially as I got older, I just blocked her out. And that was my way of, I wasn't dealing with anything. I wasn't having any conversations with her. I wasn't actually telling her, how I felt. I would just ignore it. And so for her, she just actually wanted to connect with me, as I've gotten older and gone into my 20s and stuff, but I would just block her out. And for a long time, like, we didn't talk. There was a period there where I just blocked her out for 6 months because it was my way of protecting myself at that stage. And yeah, I guess I was just moving through the motions with, I want her in my life, but I also don't have energy for this anymore. And at the time it was like it was all her fault, and she needed to change. She needed to, apologize. She needed to do all of this, which to some extent, of course, I wanted to hear that. And that would be incredibly healing to receive. But at the same time, until I started going into this work, I couldn't see any compassion for her. So after cutting her out and then just going through the motions of letting her back in, but it was always like at an arm's length. And that was when it was kind of this, if she pissed me off in any way or annoyed me in any way, I would just cut her out and ignore her. But yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely see like firstly, thank you for sharing. Appreciate that. The confusion, like being a young kid and your life giver in that sense is using you to parent them to feel okay as you're just a tool in that way. It's I can see how that would just be like so confusing being in that volatile space as well and not really knowing like what to do. That would be that'd be really hard. When did you start to notice like the difference between, okay, this is just how things are, and then, hey, this isn't okay?
A lot of the time growing up, it was just like, that's just how she is. Like, that's just the situation. And I would make a lot of, I guess like a lot of excuses or just like brush off what was actually happening to friends and when people would come over and stuff. And then again, it would always be this thing of like, is mum going to drink? Is she not going to drink? Like, what do I need to be prepared for here? So then it's kind of always like making excuses or apologizing in that sense. And that was always just like how she was. I think it was probably like only when I was early 20s that I started to recognize just how much pain had been caused, and that, I had tried to get her support or help. And to be fair, like this is such an edge, like telling this story, because mum still doesn't see this. Like there's parts of it she knows ways that she's hurt me or there's been struggles in our relationship that way, but she doesn't, like, she's still in this. This isn't something that's like healed and fixed. This is still an ongoing challenge and dynamic that I still battle with. I love her and I have so much compassion for her now of what she's also gone through and the pain that she's also experienced. But you can only do so much when someone doesn't want to look inside themselves as well. And I think the hardest thing has been accepting her for who she is and not needing her to change for me to feel better and for me to still create some healing within that relationship as well. And I think that was the biggest thing that gave me like my own power back to just like release some of that, of everything I was holding for so many years. But that really wasn't until probably like mid-20s that I started diving into like a little bit of stuff and just even journaling like what had happened. Like I kept everything like so caged and so bottled up and just normalized that behavior and what had happened. There's family that don't even know the extent to it. Like no one really knows the extent of it apart from her and I, because we were the only ones that were there.
What do you feel like is the thing between like being able to start to really own your own life and come to that point where you can accept who she is whilst not allowing her to overstep as a woman today? Like, have you found a place where you've been able to, I guess, not come to terms, because I think that's a really that's a dishonorable way to actually speak into what you've been through, but have you been able to like work on the stuff within you to the degree which you can, and also find a way to have some sort of relationship with her at the moment? Because I know like you guys are still very much fractured as well. And a big part of that's just how she is. So I guess it's easy to just like throw in the towel with her and just, that's just how she is. Nothing's ever going to change. But for you, like even before getting to the place you are now, it's like when you were doing the inner work for yourself and really just addressing like what you've been through and owning that side of it, what did it look like for you to like step into that for yourself and also keep the boundaries in place with her?
The more I was able to actually be with my own emotional experience and just own that instead of suppressing, dismissing, hiding behind all these masks and these walls of being strong, hyper independent, all of these things, the more I was able to actually just hold myself and create a level of emotional safety within myself, I was then in a place to be able to like flip the script, I guess. It's all different avenues of inner work of like inner child healing, looking at emotional intelligence, actually somatic, like processing within my body. It's actually just all of the years I actually didn't allow myself to feel anything. Moving through that was very, very heavy. But on the other side, it's like, okay, I've built this level within myself now. Now I'm able to actually hold a level for her, which is also something that she probably hasn't experienced in a long time, if ever. And there were like invitations within that journey, right? Part of a coach that I worked with was like actually intentionally having like opening up those conversations with her when we would talk. Instead of shutting things down or dismissing things she might be saying, it might be actually me holding a boundary and saying something's not okay. Or if I'm getting, text messages when she has been drinking, it's again coming back to it, not continuing to act like they don't exist. So I need to change my behavior and my response first in order to change the pattern within our relationship dynamic as well. And that wasn't going to come from her. So that had to come from me. But a big piece of that is all the times that I had suppressed how I felt, all the times I hadn't set a boundary, all the times I just dismissed things and brushed over them, is actually beginning to find my voice with her and set a boundary, or expressing something she said really actually hurt me, and actually going into conversation and also owning my experience again, like the ways that I may have hurt her, but then giving her the opportunity to express how she felt in those as well. Because I can dump all of my pain and hurt onto her and what she's done to me, but also how it's delivered matters. It's also then going to be met with probably her own defensiveness and the ways that she feels that she needs to protect herself. And I guess the more I've, again, been able to develop that within myself and understand what's happening in my internal world, in someone else's internal world, I can understand and have compassion for what's actually going on for her, which has allowed me to hold space for her within that, which isn't like it's not always easy. In a lot of ways, I have to accept that I won't have the relationship with her that I would really deeply desire. There's a level like I want that, but there's also a level where I actually just need to protect my own energy. And again, someone that isn't willing to see it or isn't willing to do the work to actually create healing, you can only bridge so much as well from your side.
Yeah. It's there's a deep level of grief there. It's like you're actually grieving the childhood that you didn't have, and you're also grieving for your parent at that same time as well. That's a lot.
Yeah. I think the hardest thing is also the confusion as well, because our relationship wasn't always like that. Like I mentioned at the beginning, it's like there was a part of childhood where we were best friends. Like I've got amazing memories from childhood as well, but there's also, periods of life where it got really, really dark, and the conflict with that. And I think bringing it back, I guess, to like anchoring into my why, and like, yes, this is part of my story, but underneath all of this is the foundation of why I lived so many years having my own walls up, having my own coping mechanisms, having a lot of emotional suppression and thinking I needed to hold everything for everyone else and I had to do everything. And I was completely independent because the less I needed other people, the less chance there was for me to be hurt then. And until I started like processing all of that, that was showing up in so many areas of my life without me even realizing it. And my whole life had been built around that. So then, then comes a time in my life where I'm feeling so much internal conflict of these voices and like this emotion that I've suppressed for 27 years is all kind of like bubbling under the surface and I don't know what to do with it. And I'm feeling confused because I have all these things in life that everyone tells you to build and to create. And so I should feel really grateful for that, but it doesn't feel right. Why do I still feel so disconnected from myself? Like what's wrong with me? Then that's led into separation and this whole journey of finding out actually who I was. So it's kind of this massive unlearning in order to relearn who I actually am and go back to those younger versions of me and actually just hold her because she never had someone to do that. She learned to do that herself. And that's what I see in so many women is they're not going to have the same story I have, but there's also quite commonly pain and disconnect with the relationship with the feminine. So they've learned one way or another that they have had to be hardened, that they've had to be strong, that they can't rely on anyone, or they've had to become attuned to everyone else's emotions instead of their own. So they've continued to abandon pieces of themselves throughout their entire life. And then they get to a stage in life where they feel a little bit lost or they feel a bit disconnected or they're just used to these burnout and cycles of exhaustion. And this is just what has been normalized. And it really like hurts me when I hear women like struggling in these ways because I've been them in so many ways of, whether it's relationship, whether it's what they're doing in life, whether they're putting themselves in these boxes or holding on to these beliefs that they couldn't possibly do all these things or they're just accepting that as normal. And it's just like, I'm literally living proof. I'm a completely different person than I was back then. Like I was the one that everyone would go to if they had a problem. I was the one that never had any problems on the outside. And I was always the strong one. I've never showed any emotion, but I could easily show up and hold emotion for other people. But if it came to myself, it was always brushed off or make a joke out of it, make it lighthearted. I couldn't be vulnerable when I did not want like anyone to see me.
What's something that you'd want women who have experienced something similar and or are struggling to connect with what's driving them, whether in that burnout, exhaustion, doing all the stuff but not able to actually slow down and learn how to just rest in where they are? Like what's something that I guess in a more specific case you would say to yourself, like looking back of everything you've been through to the younger version of you who was just trying to find a way forward day by day in that space?
I think a part of it is just it's okay to let it go. And it's okay to acknowledge that the heaviness, the pain, the hurt exists. Because I feel like for a lot of women that are extremely capable, that are high achieving, that are used to being on the go, that struggle to slow down, the easiest way to keep carrying that is to park it in a little corner of their mind and act like it's not as heavy as what it is. And so it takes courage to actually allow that up to the surface and allow that to be seen by yourself and other people, and to then also let it go, because they're used to carrying so much, but they actually don't need to as well. Yeah. That probably among many other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like when I hear you talk about all that, it's very much easy to get caught up in, do this breath work or do this modality or do this style of coaching to work on like inner child work, mother wounds, father wounds, family systems, parts work. none of that stuff is as important as sharing, like speaking it,
Yeah.
using your voice, to actually start giving voice to the things that have been buried
Yeah.
for so long. That in itself, it's a restructuring, and just to acknowledge you for sharing that today and knowing that's an edge for you. Thank you for your heart. Thank you for your vulnerability.
Thank you.
Thank you for your story.
Yeah, it's not an edge to share the work that I've done or to go through, what's got me here today, but the edge is that there's still a part of me that fears the reaction from me sharing my story. And it's not sharing from a place of blame or criticism of, what should have been done, what could have been done better. Like, I don't hold any of that. It's actually just owning that it's okay to share my story despite how it might make someone else feel. And because that someone else is someone I love dearly and is a parent, that feels really challenging. Yeah, it's by no means still, like I said, like still perfect. And some people may have a relationship and they think you should cut them out. Some people, will have different views on that. But I think there's no, like, it's one of the most challenging, I think anyway, one of the most challenging relationships to create healing with, when there's pain and when there's hurt there. And it's complex, It's not just here's one thing you can do that's going to help solve that. You're dealing with, a very deep vulnerability and a very deep foundation and pillar of who you are and what brought you into this world as well. So it's not, a streamlined thing. But I think even just on what you're saying before as well is there's so much power in like being seen, sharing that and finding your voice in that. A big part of me to begin was actually like finding that in myself, because I also didn't have the words for what I was feeling necessarily. I just felt really overwhelmed. I just felt really like not in control of my emotions. Got to a point where I couldn't like keep a lid on it essentially. So I didn't know what to do with all of that. So initially it was like, okay, I need to get like pen to paper and actually work out like what's alive for me here. And I think, if you're someone like looking to process that and do some work, like that can be one of the most valuable things you can start with, is actually working out how can you understand your own internal world a little bit more first, and actually just creating space to feel. And that can feel really unfamiliar when you've never done that before in your life. But I think little by little, there's going to be invitations and openings for you to do that. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And, you're allowing things that have been stored in your body for years, months, whatever, to move through you. And when they move through you, they create space because you're no longer holding everything in as well. And, that does a lot of things for a woman's body.
Yeah, I think there's no like right or wrong way to approach, especially relationship with parents, when you're trying to either repair or come to terms with what actually took place at a young age. And I think it's easy to have opinions of, oh, no, I did it this way. You shouldn't talk to him ever again. It's not worth it. Or there's also invitations that pop up too. And it's always just fluctuating, just based on whatever stage of life you're at. Like, things may change. Oh, cool. There's some more space here to engage. Oh, not working. Great. Move back, essentially. But it's all there. It's like, it's easy to say, oh, you know what, we're just going to go along with it and try and find the lessons in whatever happens. But the reality is you also have a life to live here now too. And your mission is not to try and fix your parent anymore.
No.
You're a grown woman and you've got your own life to live. And this is where the grief is. It's the letting go. Like, that's what grieving is. And it's so hard to move on with your life if it's so much like centered around, oh, fuck 'em.
Yeah.
They're a piece of shit. They did this to me. It's their fault. I'm the reason that they're the reason I'm so fucked up today. Like it's hard to move on. It's hard to take ownership and do your thing. Like if you are stuck there, and it takes guts, it takes bravery and courage to be able to actually look at yourself and come to terms with like, what do I want? What do I want for me now?
Yeah.
And if I want to actually step forward and own that, I have to be willing to give up this. And it can feel like a double bind if we're trying to clutch both at the same time. It doesn't work. So yeah, I guess with this, like you speaking into it and you know everything that you've done for yourself to get here, it's really cool to hear that there is a way through, and you don't have to be defined by your parent. So really powerful. Yeah. How have you found helping other women who have these challenges in their life based on relationship with mom or relationship with dad? How have you found that in itself, just for your own experience? Have you found that to be like healing? Have you found like...
Yeah, absolutely. It's incredibly healing. It's coming back to like that like soul, like purpose and mission. It gives you so much energy, like supporting women, and they're coming back to me, and also navigating those challenges and those conversations and setting the boundary, but also actually looking at that own experience with that younger version of themselves, but giving them the tools and the understanding to how they can connect with her and actually just hold her and again, like grieve everything that's there, and then be able to take it and again see, maybe somewhere where they've been holding on to so much anger and resentment. And still remember one of the girls I worked with, I said to her pretty much the same thing, is just like the more you're able to hold your own emotions, the more emotional safety you're able to create with inside yourself, you're able to then hold that for other people. Because this is the thing, it always begins with us. We want, emotionally safe relationships with family, parents, or even in intimate relationships. We are the foundation of what creates that. So the more we continue to look outside of ourselves to start that, we're just going to be continually in this like perpetual cycle of chasing something that we're actually never going to find. And this thing, the more you can build that within inside yourself, the more that will flourish in all other areas of your life as well. It's incredibly rewarding. And it's not solely just women who may have challenging relationships with their mother. Like, yes, that's where it begins. But there's also, there's many other reasons why women may have become disconnected from that part of themselves or may feel these certain ways as well. But it's also, we don't necessarily have had to have a bad or like traumatic childhood that we might label that way. But in some way, we have had unmet needs as a child growing up, and it's actually just beginning to understand what they may have been and how, again, they're impacting our lives and playing out in areas we may not see, because sometimes we're trying to like chase this thing or create this thing in our life, and we just feel like we're constantly meeting a dead end, or we're constantly like stuck in these loops and these patterns. There is a reason for that. And again, when we come inwards and when we get curious and when we understand like what is actually the root of that and how can I actually begin to break free from that, then you give yourself like so much freedom.
Well said.
Yes.
I think that's a great invitation for any of the women who are listening, who specifically do have challenging relationships with their mum. Reach out. Like connect, like start having the conversations, start like engaging with something other than the same story that keeps rattling around in your mind around how bad things are for you, and also feeling frustrated that you can't move on. Like that's a clear indication that it's time to do something to let it go. And that has to take an initial step. And usually it's not a massive transformation. It's simply acknowledging it. Yeah. And that can really come through when you have the support with someone who can actually hold you in that and give you a space to actually open up and share. And you do a very good job of that with the women that you take through your program. So
I think Sorry, you're going to add more?
No, I was just closing my. my
Before you
invitation.
close, I just want to add another part to it. Because I think an extension from that is if you're wanting to be a mother, if you already are a mother, you know, this is a piece that I kept coming back to for a while. I actually didn't think I wanted children. And that was purely from the place of I didn't want to have anywhere near that same relationship or that same hurt and that same pain. And that was solely because of my own internal wounding and pain that I haven't yet processed. Being able to now process that, hold those parts of me, be now in a beautiful, safe relationship. I want nothing more than to become a mum. And like, I know that that's going to be so incredibly healing. And even it's like my old self hearing me say that out loud is such a trip because I was so adamant that I thought that that wouldn't be the path for me. And I never felt like that motherly instinct as well. But even like thinking of that, I was like, who do you want to be when you're a mum? If you already are a mum, like is there like generational patterns or generational trauma that has gone through generations before you? Like you are the one that can actually change that. And for me, it was coming back to that of being like, I don't want to carry any of this moving forward. And I think that's just an invitation in itself to actually be the one to do something about it. Again, instead of like waiting for other people to change in your life or create healing in that way, is like you are able to do that for yourself. So you are creating that freedom for yourself as well.
100%. I like that. Anything else you wish to speak into before we close this episode down?
I don't think so. Thank you for listening. Thank you for holding.
Thank you for sharing. Guys, if you got anything from this episode, doesn't matter how big or how small, you know what to do. Just reach out to us. Our socials will be in the, what is it called? Bio?
Show notes.
Fuck.
So close.
Piece of shit. Yeah, anyway, reach out. It starts with you. So if you feel the pull, you don't have to have it all figured out straight away. Send the text and then see what the fuck happens. So appreciate you guys listeing. Catch us in the next one.
Bye.